They took on a juggernaut and won. Victory for almost 1,700 baggage handlers, cleaners and ground staff sacked by Qantas early in the pandemic. Today, the country's highest court ruled what the airline did was illegal. It's another big whack for the flying kangaroo. Don Dixon was one of those who lost his job. He joins me along with Michael Caine from the Transport Workers Union. Nice to see both of you. So Don, it's a win for the little guys, the workers. It must feel pretty good.
It feels fantastic. This is the day we've been waiting for 3 long years.
You were a ramp supervisor. How long had you worked for Qantas and how did you feel about the company up until that point?
Well, 20 years. And I absolutely love Qantas. It was a fantastic company to work for until Joyce took over. You know, and it was just sad what they've done over the many, many years. Some of the people I worked for 40 years. And it was an iconic Australian company and it was a fabulous place to go to work. But the last 15 years was just awful.
What was it that changed under Alan Joyce?
Everything. Everything changed. The loyalty changed. The way you went to work. But when he came in, it was a horrible place to go. It was always, you're a dinosaur, you're going to be gone, and we're going to make sure we get rid of you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
How did you find out you no longer had a job?
The Qantas management announced in the meal room over the loudspeaker that we were going to be outsourced, and we had 3 months to... In that 3 months period, you can leave at the beginning, middle or end.
You found out over the loudspeaker?
Yep.
Is there any more cowardly way to tell someone who has served loyally for 20 years they no longer have a job?
Well, they could have mailed something, but I don't think they would have paid for the stamp.
Or face to face?
Oh, yeah. We didn't experience that, I'm afraid, no. No, over the loudspeaker in the lunchroom, all together, and it was just a brutal moment, you know.
So to lose your job in the middle of a pandemic after so many years of loyal service, tell me about the impact of that on you and your family.
Well, I was lucky that I had a partner that still had a job and was bringing income in. But for me, at my age and 20 years at Qantas, nobody wanted to employ you. When you worked at Qantas, it was a career. It was a lifetime. No one was going to leave because it was that good. But unfortunately, that's not the way it went.
So, I mean, it wasn't just you in that situation, you and so
Thousands.
many a lot of them close friends, I imagine.
Yes, oh yes, we had a good relationship with our work colleagues, you know, and all of us were the same thing. So what are we going to do now? You know, it's not as if every company in Australia has a role for washed up baggage handlers and cleaners.
You're not washed up, Don. Got plenty of good years in you. What are you talking about?
Not now, thank you to Alan.
It's had a real impact on you, hasn't it?
Oh, massive, yeah, massive impact, especially in my role as being a TW delegate, supporting Michael and he was supporting me, the thousands of people that would ring up with horrific stories of they're struggling. But today, I heard some happy voices on that phone and it was great to hear.
What were the things that they were telling you, your colleagues who also left Qantas at the same time as you?
Mainly like, how did us group of nobodies take on the might of Qantas? It's something that you can sit back and go, you know what? We were a small part of history today. We won. We did it. And a lot of people didn't think we had it in us, but here we are on the podium.
Well, Don, I know you yourself had doubts that you could take on Qantas and win, but Michael, you were confident that Qantas was losing this one.
Well, Qantas has lost the faith of the Australian public under Alan Joyce, who really has pushed this company to the lowest place it's ever been. I think everyone, prior to particularly the last year or so, had a soft place in their hearts for the spirit of Australia. But the last year or so, and particularly since these workers took up their fight and won their federal court case, you know, the eyes of the Australian public has been opened. Now, this is a brutal management team, a brutal approach by Alan Joyce, and today that's come to a grinding halt. It is the largest case of illegal sackings in Australian history. And what happens now is that we go back to the federal court, to the initial judge, and that judge will sit down and figure out how much compensation these workers are owed and how much of a penalty Qantas should pay for this reprehensible conduct.
If we just go back to that time, early days of COVID, before a vaccine, can any part of you understand the predicament that Qantas was in and its reasons for sacking workers like Don?
Well, Qantas from day one minimised the risk that COVID presented. So this is a company that, when the pandemic came, saw an opportunity to get more money, to downsize, to push workers to cheaper arrangements, and that's what they did. And in the case of Don and his colleagues, they did it illegally. That will forever be a mark on Alan Joyce, but the problem for us as a community, it's forever now a mark on Qantas. And we want a good carrier to be in Australia with the flying kangaroo on it, but at the moment it's not there. So we have to make sure we rebuild. In my view, the board has to go as well, so that we can have a broom through the place and have a fresh start.
Do you agree with that, Don? I mean, Alan Joyce, a lot of the focus has been on him. He's now gone, but he didn't make these decisions on his own.
Absolutely not. The board was with him side by side through the whole pandemic, and they didn't make a single noise when we were thrown out that front door. But what they didn't expect was that we were going to dig in and fight back. The little bloke won today. It's a great day.
How long since you've smiled like you have today?
The 31st of March 2021, when we were thrown out the front door of the place that we loved.
So look, it's a courtroom victory, right? You were right,
Yep.
Qantas was wrong, but you've been through hell.
Yes.
And you don't get your job back.
No. It would be good if Qantas came out and said, you can come back for your job. That's on Vanessa Hudson now. Time will tell whether she can do the right thing and bring Qantas back to its glory days. And if she made that call, I'm sure there'll be quite a few people that would say, yep, I'll come back. But we won't come back under the conditions of Mr. Joyce.
How much of a difference would an apology make, Don?
All the difference in the world. The first thing to fix this problem is to say I'm sorry, but not just say it, mean it. Don't just stand there and say I'm sorry. You know, say you're sorry, mean that you're sorry, and show the Australian public that you are sorry.
You said you once loved Qantas. Would you ever go back?
Well, I'd only go back if they were honest about repairing it and getting it back to its previous days, yes.
Well, look, I hope you can put it all behind you now. You won.
Yes.
The little guy won, right? Well done, and appreciate you both joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
They deserve a drink tonight, don't they?